Eagle Scouts and Brownie Bites. Lift with your legs to avoid straining your quality of mercy. Question the innateness of learned values. And we're only doing this podcast to work off the karma of sins committed in our past lives.
That's it. I've had enough of your shit. Go see the principal. It's time to talk Tull to me.
Go see. It's time to talk.
No, because you got to get the principal in there.
Principal. Oh, I get it now. Yeah. I get it. Took me a minute. Welcome back. This is Omen Thomas Sade.
Oh, and I'm Nick McGill.
Together we are the Feckless Momes.
And this, my sweet little weebelows, is Talk Tull to Me.
A 12-point review in the club room of prog rock in which Den Mother Nick and fifth runner-up on the Pinewood Derby Omen Thomas Sade, just Omen, will weigh the various virtues of each and every track that reverent rock band Jethro Tull have ever laid down in the record shop bylaws. We will ponder the perseverance of Popinjay Dave Pegg, give credit where credit is due to the courageous congas of Jerry Conway, and meditate on the magnanimousness of Martin, Your Women and Children Are Safe With Me, Barr. And with the help of the ever-diligent and kind JDA, we will do our best to do our duty to Queen and Country, to obey the Mome Law, and to talk Tull at all times, and to keep ourselves physically alive, mentally sharp as a spoon, and morally wibble-wobbly, that we may even shake the hand of the Viscount of Virtue, the helpful Claghorner, the cheerful chanter, the responsible rover, the fairness flautist, the imp from the Isle of Integrity, Ian Altruism Anderson.
That wasn't that bad. You prefaced it with, approach it with low expectations, but I thought that was fine.
That's how I preface my lovemaking as well.
Prepare to be disappointed. For those of you not in the know, this is our first episode recorded, not including a feckless, but this is our first episode recorded post-UK trip.
Post-meeting Ian Anderson in person, and I realized that I have to change the ending of the triptychs from now on because we done met him.
Oh, that's right. Wow, yeah.
It was always aspirational, and if we do this, then maybe someday we'll meet Ian Anderson, and now we've already done that, so what is there to aspire to?
I mean, I give up at this point.
Nothing, yeah.
It's only downhill from here.
There we go. Nick, speaking of downhill, we are in the fabulous Nightcap sessions.
Correct.
And we have yet another Nightcap track to talk about here today. Isn't that extraordinary?
It is extraordinary. We are about halfway through our trek through Nightcap. We are still on disc 2, as we will forever be the rest of the time on Nightcap. But we're on track number 10, Man of Principle.
Man of Principle. Isle of Man of Principle.
What's Steve Wilson's band? No Man. Isle of... No Man is an Island? Is that what it is? Something like that.
I thought it was Hedgehog Tree.
It's Porcupine Tree is one of them, but No Man was one of his first ones, and it's short for No Man is an Island, if I recall correctly.
This joke brought to you by Xlax.
Can't be any quicker. So we are talking track 10. This is recorded from 1988. So this is kind of a standalone of the ones that we've heard so far from Nightcap and we'll hear going forward. Just to put this chronologically, Crest was 87. This track was recorded in 88 and Rock Island was 89. So not too far from where we left off in terms of...
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And good context to have. This was recorded at Ian Anderson's home studio, presumably on the Isle of Skye, and features Martin Barr on electric guitar, Dave Pegg on backing vocals and bass, and Jerry Conway on drums and percussion.
Drums and percussion.
Or percussion.
So is percussion everything else that you hit to make a noise, basically?
Where do you draw the line?
I don't know. I'm not a percussionist, nor am I a drummer. Nothing on that?
I think that this opens up a deep philosophical conversation.
Oh, goodness. Well, before we get into too deep a philosophical question, let's stay as shallow as possible and talk about this song.
Let's do that. And in order to do that, let's have a listen.
Indeed.
Nick McGill.
Omen, Oztsade.
Sealand is a calling me.
It works. Immediate first thoughts, mana principle. Give it to me.
I'm blown away, as is so often the case. You know, you just never listening to Tull bonus tracks from a range of dates is like lifting up a big flat rock in your garden. You never know what is under there, but
it's like winning a storage auction. You never know what you're going to find.
Yeah. But it's usually not junk.
It's not. It's something of value. It's a mummified cat. Unintentional.
We're in the nice part of town, but a lot of weirdos live here.
Yeah.
I love that you provided the context of this being recorded between the release of Crest of a Knave and Rock Island, because it does really smack of that era. Mm-hmm. My biggest impression musically from this is that the drum and bass, the Conway Peggy combo is just, I mean, it is deadly. There were no survivors from the drum and bass in this track.
They're full frontal in this track, without a doubt. Martin's just like, he's just noodling away in the back because those guys are taking it to church.
Martin's not slacking in this song for certain, but they are providing such a strong platform for this song to jump off of.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 16th notes on the bass.
Time signature is kind of wacky on this one, or is it solid?
I'm pretty sure it's 4/4.
Is it? I thought it was 5/4 at one point, then I went over to 8/8. I feel like there are certain times where it adjusted. I could have been wrong. I'm most likely wrong.
I'm pretty sure it's in a solid 4.
Oh, okay. Then I'm an idiot.
No.
Stop rubbing it in, Omen. We know.
I think there are some places where the rhythm gets funky, but the time signature stays the same.
Gotcha.
In that little chorus, gonna get your attention, ba-da-da. We kind of rush the beat a little bit.
Gonna get your attention, but he's carrying his cross to the other hill.
So it provides that sensation of like, oh, are we off of it? No. The principle of 4/4 is ticking underneath the surface.
It stays strong.
It stays strong in the face of all accusations, all doubters.
In terms of 5/4, I just have a very, very off the leash moment here. You know how May 4th is Star Wars Day, May the 4th?
Mm-hmm.
I saw something the other day that said, back off nerds, May 4th is Brubeck Day. Because of 5/4.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, I like that one.
I like that.
Anyway, so Martin's pretty much background. Plinky, like really nice and light and plucky, until we get that 1:30 breakdown where he's allowed to kind of step forward a little bit.
He also is bringing the power of his guitar in more sparse ways. Really, oh man, he's just such a good player.
It's such a fun sound from him, being not needing to necessarily be so solid a backbone to carry the theme throughout, that he's allowed to just kind of like accent and sprinkle. It's fun. It's really fun in the song.
He doesn't really need to be providing rhythm.
Yeah.
Because Peggy and Conway are providing more rhythm than anyone could want.
Need or want. More than is medically advisable.
That's right. Okay, I think it's time to talk about the flute.
Can we please?
Can we please talk about the flute? God, for once on this podcast, can we talk about the flute?
Everyone sit down. It's time to talk about the flute.
We have Ian jumping in straight off the bat with that very interesting 16th note, jumping up and down. Yeah. And that's, of course, supported by the 16th note bass. And drums. Does that tune sound at all familiar to you?
It does. And I asked in Discord and everyone's like, I don't know. It's might be, but that we couldn't figure it out. What is it? Please tell me you know what it is.
I think I know who it is, if not what.
Yanni.
So close. Give me a B.
Beethoven.
Give me an A.
Bach.
Give me a CH.
Bach.
I think it's Bach.
Okay.
And actually, I think it's one of the. I couldn't tell you which Bach it is, but I bet if I went and put on my Wendy Carlos records, where she does Bach Replugged,
yeah,
on the early synthesizer, I think it's one of those tracks.
Wow. Okay.
So it's fascinating that Ian has lifted that motif, at least the beginning of it, and then provides a little bit of a variation on it. It drove me crazy for the entire song, and that's why I had to pause after we listened and was like, what, whistling?
I knew it. You had your headphones off, and I was saying to the Tull Skulls, I was like, he's trying to figure out that classical piece, isn't he?
Let him cook.
Yeah, that thing has been eating away at my mind for like months now.
I'm pretty sure it's Bach.
Okay.
I'm 90% sure it's Bach.
And we know Ian likes Bach, obviously. Bourée is Bach.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure is. Yeah, sure is. Well, no one really dislikes Bach.
If they do, they're monsters.
They stay quiet about it.
Because they're ashamed.
So they don't get beaten up in the streets.
By the people in their opera clothes.
I adore Bach. I'm sure we've talked about how, I don't know if they still do this, but for many years, the BBC, one of the BBC radio channels would play a month straight of Bach 24 hours a day.
Yeah, you did
literally
mention that.
Every single thing he ever wrote. Sort of the talk Tull to me of Bach without talking about it.
Bitch Bach to me.
Bach bitch.
Yeah.
I'm Bach bitch.
It's Bach bitch. Yeah.
It's
There you
Bach
go.
bitch. That would be a fun podcast.
I think we would be even more, we would embarrass ourselves even more when it comes to classical music, though.
Hey, the people want what they want.
Hasn't stopped us yet.
So, yeah, what else to say? Oh, musically.
Peggy's voice in here, really good. Through
gorgeous.
most of it, we have that layering of the voices. Oh, Ian's like just almost goat voice. Just almost nanny goat in here. He's got the, nah, one day he'll walk. It's in there.
Yeah, but it's pre-Catfish. He's not let the goat out.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Who let the goats out? Meh, meh, meh.
You'll see a quiet determination on his face.
You know what this song reminded me of?
It reminded you of...
Standing in the rain with his head hung low, couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show. Heard the roar of the crowd.
Oh, wait a minute.
He could picture the scene.
It's going to drop in a second. Here we go. Do you know that?
No.
Foreigner, Jukebox Hero.
Oh, yeah, I know. Jukebox Hero. That's the only part I know.
With stars in his eyes.
I didn't know that that's how it started. For a moment, I thought you were playing Thunder.
I'm always playing Thunder.
In my heart.
There's just something about the, like, obviously this is a much faster, you know, like the subdivisions of the notes. There's a lot more 16th notes being used in Mana Principle, but there's that sense of like, yeah, someday he's gonna be something. Wow.
I don't know Jukebox Hero well enough, so I'll have to trust you. And I've trusted you this long, so I might as well.
That was your first mistake.
You're playing the long game.
Anything else to say about this song that has a classical reference? Crazy bass and drums.
At about 2:20, we get Bend His Will.
Yep.
And we get an oh.
Tonight she'll bend his will.
Oh, nice. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just like a little moment of extra flavor.
And that leads us into that second breakdown, which is pretty delightful. 4 minutes long of a song.
It's a very quick 4. It's a very, very quick 4. If you told me it was 3, I wouldn't have blinked twice. I might even not blink once.
I might even sew my eyelids shut.
To never blink again. You do one shut and one open. That way you can always see in the dark.
Yeah, you just perpetual winking.
Yeah.
Nick, welcome to the halfway mark of the show.
Here we are.
I wonder if we have any correspondences. Did someone say correspondences?
Mary.
Mary, I thought that you got off the train in Inverness and didn't come back. You said that you were done, that you were returning to your homeland.
You ran off into the scrub brush and threw your clothes in the process. It was very cold.
I needed to return to my roots, but now I'm back to flowering.
You ran all the way here from Scotland.
That's what it looks like, judging by how wet you are and how much seaweed there is in your hair. Hey, I fought a shark.
It's a good addition, Mary Greenteeth. It's very nice. It's good.
I debated it. And then I fought it.
Oh, wow. So who won the debate?
The shark. So I punched his teeth in.
Good thing it had an extra couple rows.
Yeah, that's planning. Anyway, here's your mail.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. Wow.
I feel like a god.
I think we're giving her a little too much leeway. We need to rein that in.
I don't know. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid of telling her no.
We've created a monster.
We have. Nick, what have you got there?
I have myself a couple of emails. Let's start with a return writer inner. This is none other than Greggy K. Greggy K writes back in.
Yes, Greggy K. Greggles.
This was a response to Doctor to My Disease.
Okay.
Just a quick confirmation / follow-up to Mike B's, aka Mike Bizzle, recollections about radio interviews. I heard a similar interview on a Pittsburgh radio station with the entire band. Oh, so this goes back to Ian saying Ian liked to practice gynecology and keep a hand in or something along those lines.
Yeah. I used to practice gynecology and I still like to keep my hand in.
There it is, yeah. A question was posed, what do you tell your children about your job when you're away from home for prolonged periods of time? I think it was Dave Pegg who chimed in immediately that he tells his family they're a group of traveling gynecologists moving from town to town doing free exams.
No, that's so silly.
The same interview included a story that I could never quite shake off. Apparently Dave Pegg, again, would tend to over-imbibe on fruity, colorful drinks, then throw up in alleys or side roads.
Oh, no.
He referred to this as parking the tiger. One morning, after he arrived in the hotel lobby and Martin noticed his shoes were bright pink, to which Dave exclaimed, "Oh God, there's tiger on my shoes." I got to meet Dave, and he was indeed the merry prankster and bon vivant of the group.
No.
His good humor and willingness to engage with ordinary folks was in rather stark contrast to Ian's frequently and understandably dour demeanor.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greggy K. Those are great little anecdotes. Love that.
Thank you, Greggles. That's fabulous. And what good visuals. It also corresponds to, who was the bassist? Not Glasscock. There was somebody who had said, I probably wouldn't have stayed on tour as long if it hadn't been for Peggy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Martin Alcock.
Ah, yes.
Martin Alcock. I knew it was one of the Cocks.
Yeah, that sounds right. And that really does hammer home really kind of these bits and pieces of at least how I've come to imagine Peggy along this way. It's any anecdote I hear about Peggy is he's just a joker. He's in a good, bright mood.
I want to be remembered as being a bon vivant.
Try harder.
Okay. Good point.
We got one more. This is a new writer inner.
Quiet innocence.
Yay!
This is from Andrew A. Subject is Tull fan since 1975. Wow. I've been a Tull fan since 1975. Growing up in New York, getting my driving license permit at 16 was a milestone. One freezing February day, my cousin and I took my dad's convertible out for a spin with Aqualung playing on an 8-track.
Wow.
Despite the cold, we were captivated by Ian and the boys. I've been to around 30 Tull shows and even met Ian and Martin Lancelot Barr. The band's history and Ian Anderson's legend still ignite my enthusiasm. Let's chat and share some more incredible stories. Yes, indeed, Andrew. Yes. Love it.
Andrew, thank you so much for writing in. I'm curious which part of New York you grew up in, because if it's New York City, there would have been precious little use for a convertible.
Right, yeah. My thought is if you're going out joyriding, it's probably going to be somewhere up here,
Yes.
And most people don't get licenses in New York City.
Not that many, yeah,
Not that
because
many, yeah.
You don't need them. But that's amazing. Sounds fabulous. Cold February day, Aqualung blaring in a convertible with the top down, snow everywhere.
Feels thematically accurate for Aqualung.
It does. I have a little something here that Mary dropped in a cold, wet, wadded up mash. I was ironing it while you were reading those emails, and it is a review.
Oh my goodness, it's a review, ladies and gentlemen.
And guess how many stars it has?
I'm guessing it's not 1.
It's not. It's 5.
It's 5.
Sir, sensors have detected another star in the sky.
Dear Lord, that's 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. 5 stars. 5
Bad Hero
stars.
via Apple Podcasts in Denmark says, title, A Thix from Denmark. It's the abbreviation for thanks, I think. Hi there, fellow Tullians. I think this must be the greatest walkthrough of any band that exists. Wow.
Fact.
Thank you.
Fact.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I myself have always prioritized the music above the text and never knew what a lot of them was about. Though I believe that they from time to time are wrong in their interpretations, it is still a very good walkthrough of the sound and lyrics. I myself started listening to Jethro Tull around the age of 10, 34 years ago, when I decided to explore my father's record collection. Jumpstart.
There it is. Yep.
Beatles had been playing on the record player from time to time, but not much else, so it was truly an exploration. I first discovered Aqualung, and at the time, especially the title track was a favorite of mine. After a lot of playthroughs, I started the second of the 2 albums in the collection, Stand Up. There would go 4 to 5 years until I broadened my Tull experience, and I am still a fan today with 3 concerts under the belt. I have only reached the end of the Thick as a Brick walkthrough, so there is still a long way for me until I am up to date. Thank you so much, Bad Hero. That is great to hear. Hopefully we can take you through some more of our wrong interpretations, and they'll get wronger but more confident as you keep listening.
And hopefully funnier.
Yeah, depending on your sense of humor.
And if you're at the end of Thick as a Brick right now, I mean, you won't hear this for another year or two anyway, so who knows? Who knows where we'll be by then?
Who knows? But thank you. Much gratitude and our love to Denmark. And thanks for being along on the ride. Keep listening.
Thank you so much. Omen.
Oh!
What the heck is Man of Principle about?
My hop-flavored water.
Thank you for asking. I'm drinking.
What is Man of Principle about? Well, what is a man of principle? What does that phrase mean?
Well, principle is to, I believe, have some sort of moral standing, to have principle.
To have principles, sure.
Yeah.
A man of principle, right. So somebody who lives by a certain code, whether that is a code of that person's own creation or whether it is a moral code that is prescribed by some moral authority in society.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say, who could we imagine as a man of principle?
Superman.
Oh, actually, absolutely. He fights for certain virtues.
Batman, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truth, freedom, and the American way. Justice.
Yeah.
Justice and wearing cool costumes. In a different way, I think somebody like Oscar Wilde could be considered a man of principle because he was always true to his own principles, which was to be Oscar Wilde. And regardless of the cost.
And boy, was he successful at being Oscar Wilde.
Yes. Yes, he was. Poor guy.
Same thing with Beau Brummel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
to his own detriment.
I think people who knew him might be surprised to hear him called a man of principle, but in a way, he had a certain set of things that he valued and he stuck to them.
Right. I think traditionally man of principle has a positive connotation to it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be positive. It's really just being true and honest to that principle or those principles that you choose to live by.
You were a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout. And I looked up the Scouts' oath and Scout law.
Mm-hmm.
And it is basically a bunch of principles. It lays out a bunch of principles. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient,
brave,
cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean,
reverent. Is
and reverent?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's quite aspirational,
Good stuff to live by. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I think that sometimes saying someone is a man of principle, or sometimes people who say, oh, I'm a man of principle, look at how virtuous I am, that can sometimes be a mask. Virtue can be a mask for very terrible sins.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with that out of the way, what the heck is this song about?
So, I mean, I think I don't know what he's trying to tell us here. I mean, I get that it's some touch of commentary on the aristocrat, the well-educated.
Yes.
And that having that mindset instilled in you can be a good thing in the long run.
Yeah, I think that you're teasing out some of the key elements here. Just as I'm kind of reading through this a second time, I think that the entire song takes place in the context of a school. Of what we would call private school in the US and what the Brits would call public school because everything's backwards.
Yeah, right. Public schools drive on the left side of the road. It's strange.
They do.
It's weird.
It's crazy. But somewhere like Eton or Hogwarts? What are the other English schools? Hogwarts or...
Nailed
no,
it.
wait a minute.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Eton or Cambridge or one of these places where you go not only for college, but you go like as a young child.
Yeah.
Boarding schools.
Yeah.
The whole concept behind those boarding schools were we're gonna take the raw material of your child. You don't even have to have ever interacted with them. And we will send out to you a fully formed man, because of course it was all boys.
Right.
We'll send you out a fully formed, completely perfect man at the end of this.
Completely homogenous. They cut and paste the perfect little human being in theory. In practice, not so much, but...
Right. Well, and I think that what I am kind of getting of this from this song is almost like the idea that a kid could go into one of these intense teaching environments, and like especially if we're thinking of Ian's generation writing this song, if he's saying, yeah, a kid went into this educational system and came out actually a man of principle, that almost is so shocking, even though that is what the system is supposed to do.
Right.
It is so shocking that it could actually happen.
Right. It's remarkable.
That it's noteworthy. It's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things I always try to do with the lyrics is find, where is Ian twisting the knife? Where is he subverting?
Yeah. Where's the subtextual commentary?
Exactly. And I don't think this is a song about a nice young man who's a nice young man.
Okay. Let's dig in.
Yes, let's.
One day he'll walk from out this place. You'll see a quiet determination on his face. He'll toe no lines, suffer no fools, but he'll raise 3 cheers to the losing team from the other school.
One day he'll walk from out this place. You'll see a quiet determination on his face. He'll toe no lines, suffer no fools, but he'll raise 3 cheers to the losing team from the other school.
So right away, walk from out this place. He's in a place.
Right.
And then we have school referenced in a minute.
Right. So the idea of him walking from out of this place, that's his transition from his graduation
Yes.
of that school. And in that process, once he comes out, he's not going to toe any lines, but he will not suffer any fools. So he's not going to push anything, but he will stand up for himself.
What does it mean to toe the line? To toe a line?
To toe the line is to like push the limits of something, you know?
Oh, you're literally like, if you have a starting line for a race and you try to get your toe a little bit over it.
Yeah. But it's like bending the rules, you know, cheating, breaking the rules,
Right.
something like that.
So he won't do that. He'll color inside the lines,
Yep.
but he also will not suffer fools.
Right.
Meaning he won't take any nonsense.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But he'll raise 3 cheers to the losing team from the other school. So he's a gentleman, he's a good sport. Everything he's being taught in this establishment. A little dedication, a little pair of daddy's shoes to fill, complete education. One day he'll be a man of principle.
A little dedication, a little pair of daddy's shoes to fill. Complete education, one day he'll be a man of principle.
So my daddy went to this school. My daddy's daddy went to this
yes.
school.
Oh, yes.
You're filling great granddad's shoes, and you better be just as successful. Granted, you're going to inherit millions of pounds and be set
Right.
with a manor, but you better.
This almost makes me feel like it's a situation where somebody's being set up for politics. And that is the purpose of a lot of those
Yeah.
really notable boarding schools, is that they give you not only the training that you need, but also the connections that you need.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A little dedication, a little pair of daddy's shoes to fill. I think that the rhyme of shoes to fill and principal is very bold.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, I think it works, but it's ballsy.
It works with Ian's scansion and his
Yes, it does.
confidence, his confidence to deliver it. If he hedged at all, it wouldn't be that good, but he delivers it. He knows what he's doing. He's a professional at this point.
He is. So the next stanza is really fascinating because I feel like it could literally be about a sports game, but it could also be prefiguring of something like a political career or
Right.
or a career in business. And the battle's on, and he'll play to win, feel the blue blood rushing quick beneath his skin.
And the battle's on, and he'll play to win. Feel the blue blood rushing quick beneath his skin.
Blue bloods are a shorthand for saying the elite.
The aristocrats, yeah.
Yeah, aristocrats.
Mm-hmm.
Because their blood has never tasted oxygen.
They've not bled in thousands of years.
They need not red blood cells because they do no work.
Just sacks filled with white blood cells.
And grim they stand and hard they fall, harder still when their backs are up against the wall.
And grim they stand, and hard they fall. Harder still when the backs are up against the wall.
That's describing this fight, which again could be sports, could be business, could be politics.
Yeah.
Could be maybe a brawl,
An actual fight.
a townie brawl.
Yeah.
Could be. Gonna get your attention, but he's carrying his cross to the other hill. With divine intervention, he can be a man of principle.
Gonna get your attention, but he's carrying his cross to the other hill. With divine intervention, he can be a man of principle.
So, I've got two questions with this, at least. I'm familiar with the phrase to bear one's cross. Oh, that's his cross to bear. That's his hardship to withstand.
His burden. Yeah.
That's his burden. I'll never be your beast of burden.
I'll never be your beast of burden.
And I'm familiar with like the idea of carrying a flag to someone else's hill. But why do we have this kind of mixed phrase of he's carrying his cross to the other hill? What is that?
I think it's telling you how far he'll actually go. He's not just bringing his cross to his hill. He's going to take the extra work, the extra burden, and establish himself elsewhere. And it just so happens to be your hill. And if that means winning the game, beating you in politics, getting the raise, something along those lines.
Is there a sense of self-sacrifice in this? Christ carried his own cross?
See, I thought that. And especially because the next line, with divine intervention, it's
Right.
definitely Jesus imagery here. But I think that the self-sacrifice is just how hard he's going to work and how hard he has worked up until this point as well, theoretically.
So it's all one. He will win the game even to the expense of sacrificing himself, but he'll do it with dignity and principles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
One of the tellings of the Arthurian legends describes Lancelot coming to court, and he arrives while there's a joust going on, and he sees that one team is losing badly. And so he says, well, I'll join the joust, and I'll join on the losing team. And he joins, and he gets in, and he totally turns it around. They start beating the team that's winning. And at a certain point, he starts thinking, well, this is a bit unfair. So he switches sides and joins the
other
team that's now
losing team,
losing.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. I don't know. It just reminds me of that. But this also brings up a point that, like, there are certain pitfalls of being too principled. That if you go too far into following principles, it becomes dogmatic.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. You don't think for yourself. There's no gray area even. It's just black or white.
And you might even shoot yourself in the foot or miss an opportunity because, well, it's the principle of the matter. Well, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of dogmatic Supreme Court justices who are originalists,
Gee whiz.
Not to always bring up politics, but I mean, that's immediately where my mind...
Not to always bring up the Supreme Court.
But I mean, politicians here are the same way. I mean, they probably go to 4 or 5 different schools. They graduate and they go into politics and they're set in their ways. Both sides. I'm not pointing any fingers here, but it's...
I wouldn't say that American politics at least suffers from an over excess of principle.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a good principle. I mean, they stick
That's
to
true.
their bad principles.
That's true. And also I think that the virtuous principles are used to mask their actual desires for power and everything.
That's just it. Yeah. Let me pull a Bible verse out of nowhere just to prove my point.
If you can even name a Bible verse.
Yeah.
So interesting here, we have the next scene, which could play into our hand. In the evening light with a fairground girl, he stops himself as his head begins to swirl. Just say no to sex.
To whirl.
Whirl.
In the evening light, with a fairground girl, he stops himself as his head begins to whirl.
So a carny catches his eye, basically.
Or a girl.
A girl at the fairground.
Yes. Who's maybe in a nice dress with a blue ribbon in her hair.
Yeah.
She's dressed up.
Yep.
She's caught his attention. Romance is a bloomin'.
And he walks her home. And there's a kiss goodbye.
And he walks her home, and there's a kiss goodbye.
A gentleman. Okay.
She feels a chill as she looks him in the eye because he's a psychopath. At this point, I'm getting a slight, oh gosh.
American Psycho?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Not actually, but a little bit. So she feels a chill as she looks him in the eye. Well, there's a time and a place now, and it's not tonight she'll bend his will. Slow realization she's looking at a man of principle.
She feels a chill as she looks him in the eye. Well, there's a time and a place now, and it's not tonight she'll bend his will. Slow realization, she's looking at a man of principle.
AKA a prude.
A prude. No. You have to meet my mother before I can hold your hand.
At our wedding. Do you remember in high school, did they ever have those, the virginity promises? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like a promise ring?
No, like
No?
a pledge. It'd be like, okay, the morality group, whether it's supported by the church or whether it's just like the say no to sex people, it'd be like abstinence groups. It'd be like, sign this pledge that says you won't have sex until you're married. Those used to be really common. I don't know if they're still happening.
It feels strange to say, but I think weed sport was like a peg above the backwoods of Mexico, New York.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Just the tiniest bit.
Yeah.
We had a stoplight.
Ouch.
You guys didn't have a stoplight for a while.
We have a stoplight now.
Now.
I mean, that's what it makes me think of, is like he knows that certain things are not cricket,
Right.
as they say.
Right. And it feels a little strange that like she only now is she just realizing, and we got that with slow realization that she's looking at a man of principle. But you feel like she would have cottoned on to that early on with just how he comports himself.
Well, and let's keep in mind that the character of this girl is written by a very straight man who was born in the 1950s. So it is
40s, I think.
The 1450s. Yep. So there's she's a very specific type of character,
Yeah.
but I get the impression that she's like, oh, well, my standard thing is to go to the fair and pick up some fresh man meat and take him home and freak him.
She caught his eye.
She caught his eye.
She caught the eye of not her typical prey, but maybe
But he doesn't look any different. You can't tell.
her life turns around.
Right.
Oh, yeah, right. Because, I'm sorry, but because like 9 times out of 10, the people who come out of this school and who look like this are the ones who will boff on the first date. But this one is that rarity.
And principles are invisible and they live on the inside of you. So they are only visible through one's actions. Anyone can put on a nice suit.
Right. To me, it felt like he treats her like a lady the whole way, I don't know. I know for a fact I'm reading too much into it, and we have the explanation right there at the end. I mean, Ian accounted for this argument. I can erase the last 10 minutes of audio because he says slow realization. She's looking at a man of principle.
Why don't you erase the last 10 minutes of my memory?
That I charge extra for.
So he'll do good in battle. He's virtuous with the ladies. Hung from the highest station by his old school tie, undressed to kill.
Hung from the highest station by his old school tie, undressed to kill.
Undressed to kill.
Undressed to kill.
Yeah, I love those. Those tickle me so much, those kind of callbacks.
A little reference to a song from Rock Island.
Oh, it's Rock Island. So, Rock Island hasn't even come out yet when he wrote this.
Interesting.
What if that's the germ for that song?
Who knows? I mean, who knows? This is the kind of fascinating thing
Right.
that we have no idea what his writing process is. Maybe that was just a phrase that was in his head, and he's like, "I'll stick it here. Oh, I'll stick it here. Oh, this one's great."
Yeah, I mean, they were probably contemporarily written, but it does kind of tickle me to think like, oh, this is the missing link between that song. You know, this is Cro-Magnon.
Yes. I'm drinking a Cro-Magnon of sparkling water right now.
You're gonna have to pee real bad.
Oh, yeah. So this phrase I find so fascinating. Hung from the highest station by his old school tie. It's got a positive and negative at the same time. He's achieved the highest station,
Right.
in a way because of his education, because of the school that he went to.
Right.
But he also has been hung by that. He's
Yeah.
trapped because that is what was designed for him. That he's doing the life that he was raised to fulfill.
Right. He has no choice. He has,
has
no
no
choice.
choice.
He's technically it's hanged, but I'll let it go, Ian, to scan for scanning purposes. But yeah, like he's stuck there. He's not dead per se, but I mean, in a way he is. He is destined to this fate, and that is it.
And here's the irony of this, that what mostly these schools do is they give people the language of principles so that when they get into these high stations of power, they are able to converse while doing whatever they want,
Right.
while getting more power for themselves.
The facade, yeah.
But in this case, he could be a real sensation, but he's a man of principle.
Could be a real sensation, but he's a man of principle.
Yeah.
So he's gotten into this high position. People are like, great.
do what we do and
Do
work
what we
your way
do.
up. Yeah.
And then he's like, but that would be wrong. And they're like, oh, who let this guy in?
He'll toe no lines. Exactly. In a sense, he's caught between two immovable objects. The idea of the station that he is destined to be in and the principles that he has adopted. Mm-hmm. Those two don't work well together. He'll be stuck. He'll be stagnant the rest of his life because of it.
That's right.
A career politician in some mid-grade level.
He's a bureaucrat, probably.
Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Yeah.
Or a technocrat. Or a technobot.
Or a techno rat. Squeak, squeak,
Squeak, some,
squeak, 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 pee on cans, pee on cans. And then we get a repetition of the final couplet of the first two verses. So we've got a little dedication, a little pair of daddy's shoes to fill, complete education, one day he'll be a man of principle. So that's from the first verse.
Right.
And then the second verse is he's going to get your attention, but he's carrying his cross to the other hill. With divine intervention, you could be a man of principle. And
Me?
it's you. Now, yep. Everything has been third person singular. All of a sudden, our narrator points it as second person singular or second person plural, really.
Oh, that's true, because of English. One of my favorite things that Ian does is those subtle word changes that, as you just so beautifully said, shift the entire focus and
The literal focus. You feel the eyes turn to you. It's like I'm singing over here. I'm singing over here. You could be a man of principle, and you're like, "Ugh."
the beady Scottish little eye of Sauron. looking at us from across the distance. We're like, ah. We picked up the one flute.
The precious one flute.
One flute to flute them all. I just can't get over the phrase, a little pair of daddy's shoes to fill.
That's really good.
There's nothing in his life that has been his own choice.
Yeah. Foreordained.
Foreordained.
Yeah, I mean, he's the firstborn male. Obviously, it has to be. It's destined to be that way. You know, he's going to do what his family did. But yeah, there are a couple of these little nuggets in here. A little pair of his daddy's shoes to fill, hung from the highest station.
By his old school tie.
They're just they're so poetic and floral. But you know exactly what he's saying. The delivery.
Yeah, they're kind of grippy, like they grip at my heart.
Yeah, right. It does elicit some level of compassion because he's clearly, from what we can tell, he's clearly a good guy. You know, he's trying to be a good guy. He's doing what he's been taught to do, but he can't really think outside the box because he's so staunchly set.
Is he happy?
We don't know. There's nothing to indicate one way or the other. As far as we can tell, he's going through the motions of what he is supposed to do.
He's a shell.
Possibly, quite possibly. I mean,
he's a shell company.
He's an automaton. He is an robot. What's the Jewish one?
A golem.
A golem. Yeah, he's a golem. Yeah,
he's a golem.
Golem, not a golem. Go back to the One Ring. He's a golem. Yeah.
Have you ever followed your own principles to a fault? Have you ever caused yourself loss or, and gone back and been like, oh man, that was stupid. Like that was arbitrary.
I've lost out on jobs because I'm honest.
Wow. Because you told them, I'm actually calling you from jail.
Not what they wanted to hear. Yes.
Not what they wanted to hear.
I'm not a felon, but I am in jail. Can you post my bail?
Take it out of my first month's check.
What about you?
Oh, gosh.
I lie all the time.
So few principles. Let me think. No, I remember in college there was my first year in college there was a very, very, very attractive young woman whom I fancied, and I ran into her on the quad and one evening, and she was like, I felt like she was interested in me, and she started, trying to get a little.
Trying what, Omen?
She was trying to get a little sauce making on the stove. She was trying to whip up a bechamel. She was trying to add my butter to her flour.
Go on.
But I realized that she had perhaps 2 drinks. And I thought it would be ungentlemanly of me to take advantage of this young woman because she has alcohol in her system and I don't.
And I'm not in her system.
And I've been kicking myself for 20 years.
And I think that was the right decision, Omen.
Well, it was, but also...
damn it. Yeah, I've also thought back on moments like that when I was I was just a tender little sproutling, and I could not even begin to fathom the complexities of a relationship, the give and take. I think back now, I was like, oh well, I missed out on that one. Yep. Okay. Missed out on that one. That's how I ruined that relationship. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
I've been pretty pragmatic when it comes to my own principles, in terms of abandoning them when they don't suit me.
When it benefits you.
Gretchen Marks has a wonderful line. Those are my principles, and if you don't like them, well, I've got some other ones.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of, speaking of the Arthurian legends, especially in the telling of Camelot. Mm-hmm. Lerner and Lowe, I want to say.
Sounds right, yeah.
Camelot, don't let it be forgot. Anyway, in that story, no matter what the telling, there's often this part where Lancelot and Guinevere have had the affair.
Spoiler, everybody, sorry.
Spoiler alert. And Arthur is like, well, I can't be a virtuous king and also let the people that are close to me get away with stuff, so I'm going to have to burn Guinevere at the stake. Because that's the law.
Yep. Checks out.
And that's insane. He loves her, and he shouldn't do that. But he does because he's like, that's my principle. And then he also knows that Lancelot will come and rescue her. which he does, and kills like 10 guys in the process. So it's like, there's all Arthur is causing all this death because he's like, well, but this is the right way to do things. Yeah. And then that starts the Civil War, and then Mordred gets involved, and blah, blah, blah.
Strange. Yeah.
And that's the end of Camelot, at least in that telling.
He maintains his principles, even though it kills him to do so.
Literally.
But he knows she'll be saved, so he's saving face. But in the process, he knows that he's losing his wife because he knows she'll be saved,
Yeah, but he's also destroying the kingdom that it took everything to build.
Do you think he foresaw that happening? Who can tell?
Maybe. Who can tell? But if he had just been like, stuff happens. Guinevere, you're banished.
Then he would have to stuff happens everybody who comes to him with an issue.
And then then in today's day, we wouldn't think of Camelot as that one shining moment in which virtue was really, truly championed.
Exactly. He was actually thinking ahead, like really far.
What do the simple folk do to help them along what they're blue? Some great songs in there.
I can sting there if you don't have anything else.
I can keep singing.
No.
No. Please don't. Nick, what do we have the pleasure of listening to and to talking to about the Tull next week?
Well, I think it's slightly adjacent to this, given what we determined in terms of this being slightly potentially political or having the possibility of going into politics. We are getting into Commons Brawl.
Ooh.
What a good little tune. You haven't heard this one yet?
Nope.
Right? Okay, yeah. Yeah, these two, Mana Principle and Commons Brawl, just the tunes are so fun. They're so fun.
I know, yeah. Mana Principle, what a cool little thing.
Yeah, very, very nice treat.
Until next week, I'm Daddy's Little Shoe, Omen Thomas Sade.
I'm the blue blood rushing quick beneath your skin, Nick McGill.
We're harder still when our backs are up against the wall with our feckless momes.
And this is going to get your attention. It's Talk Tull to me.
This is a slow realization that you are not getting laid tonight. Talk Tull to me.
Mary, thank you for coming in. Thank you so much. Take a seat, please.
It's my pleasure. I cleared this week of my schedule.
Oh, I mean, I only need like a half an hour, but that's fine.
You got the 80 of them.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That's great. So, as you know, HR really insists on these reviews, these quarterly reviews now. So I would like to just start with, how do you think you're doing so far in this position, Mary?
Well, I'll tell you, young Master Nick, the way that I think I'm doing is the lux of this work is like a dragon of the moors. A great beastie that I've come upon, and I've wrestled it by its own teeth, dragged it to the ground, and I'm beating it over and over again with me hands full of rocks.
Okay, beating a dragon. Yep. Okay, beastie. Right, teeth. Okay, so next question.
I'm ready for it.
What would you say has been your biggest weakness so far?
My biggest weakness? In life or in this job?
Well, in the job, per se. But I mean, if the one from your life affects this job, that's fine.
I tell you, young Master Nick, they're one and the same.
Okay.
'Tis me ankles. I cannot tell you the number of times when I've been carrying a boulder or, for instance, 1,000 kilos of fan mail across the dreary Rocky Mountains to bring it to you. Slip, crack, pop, Aye!
We'll look into getting some ankle braces for you. Let's take care of that.
I've wrapped him with sphagnum moss.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That has healing properties, so that should be good.
Oh, yes, and also that, yes.
Now, finally, this is a quick one. So finally, I would like to know,
Aye?
what do you think are your principles, Mary?
Oh.
What do you live by? What do you like to stand for?
Oh, stand by. Live for. Oh, Master Nick, you're asking the deep ones, aren't you?
Yeah.
From the mouths of wee little barons like yourself comes such devious devil talk. My principles.
Yeah.
Oh, I know them. My principles are gin, ground squirrels,
Okay.
tatties,
Yeah.
mash,
Yep.
the little ends of the beef where the fat gets drippy and crunchy, and you take that and you save it in your handkerchief for later. The stale cigarette smoke of a Glaswegian philosopher drifted across the parkside while you're nursing a baby.
Is the Glaswegian philosopher drifting across the parkside, or is it just the smoke?
Everything's drifting in me land of principles.
Okay,
and
sure.
most importantly, my most deeply held principle, which e'en the devil in his devilish ways could not wrest from me bosom.
Okay. What is it? What is it?
It's Tull to me, which, as you know, is a proud member of the Feckless Momes Audio Network.
Very good, Mary. Very good. Let me just tally up your score here.
Aye?
Bosom,
Aye?
cigarette smoke,
Aye?
tatties.
Aye?
Oh, wow. You got a passing score, Mary. That's good. Morale seems high, and you've passed your review. That's great. So keep an eye out for a gift card to the U.S. Postal Service coming your way.
Oh, yes. My retirement's getting sooner every moment.
Thanks, Mary. You can leave the door open when you leave.
No one asks me my principles. They're too afraid.